Welcome to Book Nibbles, Big Ideas, Small Bites. The road less traveled begins with a deceptively simple sentence. Life is difficult. From this opening, M. Scott Peck immediately challenges readers to confront the reality that life's hardships are unavoidable, that avoiding them or denying their existence only leads to greater suffering, and that personal growth stems from learning how to face these difficulties head-on. This idea forms the foundation of the book, which merges psychology, spirituality, and practical wisdom into a roadmap for living a meaningful life. It is not a self-help book in the superficial sense. Rather, it is a deeply reflective guide that encourages discipline, self-awareness, and courage. Throughout the book, Peck emphasizes that choosing the path of growth is often uncomfortable, that true love and spiritual development require effort, and that human beings frequently resist these truths because they demand accountability and confrontation with one's own limitations. Peck opens the book by exploring the concept of discipline, asserting that the ability to delay gratification, accept responsibility, and confront problems is fundamental to personal development. He argues that life's challenges are essentially opportunities for growth, but growth requires discipline. The first principle he explores is delayed gratification. Many people seek instant pleasure or relief from discomfort, whether through indulgence, avoidance, or escapism. Peck illustrates this with the example of a young man struggling with alcohol. Instead of confronting his addiction and enduring the initial discomfort of withdrawal, he chooses the easy path of denial and temporary relief. Over time, the problem grows, affecting his relationships, health, and career. Peck contrasts this with a man who chooses to face his struggles, attending therapy, embracing the discomfort of sobriety, and ultimately finding lasting fulfillment. The lesson is clear. Avoiding life's challenges may bring temporary comfort, but confronting them builds resilience and opens the path to maturity. Acceptance of responsibility is the next cornerstone of Peck's argument. He insists that individuals must recognize their role in shaping their lives rather than blaming circumstances, other people, or fate. In practical terms, this principle can manifest in everyday situations. A parent struggling with a rebellious teenager, for instance, must examine their own behavior and choices rather than simply condemning the child. Peck recounts a case of a woman in therapy who repeatedly entered abusive relationships. By exploring her own past, family patterns, and self-perceptions, she realizes that her repeated choices stemmed not from fate but from unexamined fears and beliefs. By accepting responsibility for her part, she gains the power to break the cycle. Here, Peck emphasizes that responsibility is not about self-blame but about empowerment, the acknowledgement that change begins within oneself. Peck also discusses the critical skill of problem-solving. Life presents challenges not as punishments but as opportunities for growth, and individuals must cultivate the courage to face problems directly rather than avoid or defer them. He gives the example of financial difficulties. A person might ignore mounting debt out of shame or fear, but only by confronting the situation, analyzing spending habits, seeking advice, and creating a plan, can they regain control. Peck stresses that avoidance compounds suffering, whereas proactive engagement fosters mastery and self-respect. In this context, he introduces the concept of grace, which he defines as the mysterious force that supports and guides individuals who actively pursue growth. Grace often appears in subtle ways, through a timely insight, an unexpected connection, or an inner sense of clarity that rewards those who confront life courageously. As the book progresses, Peck delves into the nature of love, which he defines far beyond the conventional understanding of romantic attraction. For Peck, love is an act of will, a deliberate choice to extend oneself for the growth and well-being of another. He distinguishes between dependency and genuine love, emphasizing that true love involves mutual respect, honesty, and effort. To illustrate, he describes a couple who have been married for decades yet struggle to communicate. Rather than remaining in a pattern of passive coexistence, they commit to conscious engagement, seeking therapy, practicing active listening, and confronting their emotional blocks. Over time, their relationship deepens, demonstrating that love is not effortless chemistry but a cultivated discipline. Peck argues that this principle extends beyond romantic relationships to parent-child interactions, friendships, and community engagement. Love, in his framework, is synonymous with growth for both oneself and others. An essential aspect of love, according to Peck, is the willingness to face one's own faults and limitations. Many people avoid self-examination because it is uncomfortable, yet self-awareness is critical for authentic connection. Peck recounts the story of a man who consistently sabotages his career by refusing feedback. Initially, he perceives criticism as an attack, but through psychotherapy, he learns to examine his defensive reactions and understand their origins in childhood insecurity. By confronting his own patterns, he not only improves professionally but also deepens his relationships. Here, Peck's practical guidance is evident. Self-exploration and honesty, though challenging, are prerequisites for both personal success and meaningful relationships. Peck then introduces the concept of the problem of evil, linking human suffering to the choices and behaviors of individuals. He argues that evil arises when people refuse to accept responsibility for their actions, avoid discipline, or fail to confront their own destructive impulses. He provides historical and contemporary examples. Acts of cruelty, corporate corruption, and abusive relationships are manifestations of this refusal to grow and face reality. Crucially, Peck suggests that understanding evil requires more than moral condemnation. It requires insight into psychological and spiritual processes. By recognizing how denial, projection, and avoidance create harm, individuals can develop strategies to prevent or mitigate it in their own lives. This perspective encourages vigilance, ethical responsibility, and conscious action. Another key theme Peck explores is the importance of balancing order and chaos. He observes that people often cling to routines and rigid structures to avoid the anxiety of uncertainty, yet over-reliance on order stifles growth and creativity. Conversely, embracing chaos, acknowledging uncertainty and change, can lead to profound transformation. He illustrates this through the example of a man whose life is meticulously controlled. His career, social life, and personal habits are all highly regulated. Despite outward success, he experiences deep dissatisfaction because he avoids exploring new experiences or emotions. When he gradually allows himself to engage with uncertainty, traveling to unfamiliar places, experimenting with creative projects, opening up emotionally, he discovers a richer, more meaningful existence. Peck's point is that life requires both structure and flexibility, discipline and exploration, and that growth emerges in the dynamic interplay of these forces. Spirituality forms a central pillar of Peck's philosophy, though he treats it broadly rather than narrowly religiously. He argues that spiritual development is inseparable from psychological growth. The journey toward maturity involves cultivating a sense of purpose, self-transcendence, and connection to something greater than oneself. Spirituality, in practical terms, manifests through practices such as meditation, prayer, reflection, or engagement in meaningful work and service. Peck recounts the story of a woman who finds deep fulfillment not through material success but through volunteering at a hospice. Her work allows her to confront mortality, empathize with others, and cultivate humility and compassion. This example illustrates Peck's broader principle. Spiritual growth is not an abstract ideal but a lived process that shapes daily choices, relationships, and attitudes. A recurring practical application in the book is the necessity of confronting pain rather than avoiding it. Peck emphasizes that emotional pain, grief, disappointment, anxiety, is not inherently harmful. Rather, it is the refusal to experience and process it that causes lasting damage. He tells the story of a man who, after losing a loved one, immerses himself in work to distract from grief. Years later, unresolved pain manifests as chronic anxiety and relationship difficulties. In contrast, another individual who allows herself to grieve fully, seek support, and reflect on the loss experiences a gradual integration of the experience into her life. The lesson is clear. Pain is an inevitable teacher, and growth comes from engaging with it honestly. Peck also explores the dynamics of human relationships in the context of psychological health. He highlights the danger of dependency, where one person seeks to control or manipulate another to meet unmet needs. He recounts the example of a couple in which one partner consistently undermines the other's self-esteem while demanding loyalty and affection. Through therapy, both partners learn to recognize patterns of control, communicate openly, and establish boundaries. The transformation is gradual and requires persistent effort, but the outcome demonstrates that conscious attention to relational dynamics can prevent cycles of harm and foster authentic connection. Peck provides numerous such examples, illustrating that awareness, honesty, and deliberate action are crucial for sustaining healthy relationships. Another practical insight Peck offers is the role of insight in personal development. He distinguishes between superficial understanding and deep insight, the latter being the capacity to see oneself objectively, recognize patterns, and anticipate consequences. Insight is cultivated through reflection, therapy, and sustained engagement with challenges. Peck recounts the story of a business executive who repeatedly clashes with colleagues. Through a process of self-examination and counseling, he gains insight into his authoritarian tendencies and emotional triggers. This awareness allows him to modify his behavior, improve collaboration, and achieve greater professional and personal fulfillment. Insight, Peck suggests, is not innate but cultivated, and it requires courage, honesty, and commitment. In addressing the stages of life, Peck emphasizes that growth is a lifelong process. He rejects the notion that maturity is achieved at a specific age or milestone. Instead, he argues that individuals continuously face challenges, confront limitations, and make choices that shape their development. He provides examples ranging from young adults navigating career and identity to older adults confronting mortality and legacy. Each stage presents unique challenges, yet the principles remain consistent: discipline, responsibility, love, insight, and spiritual engagement. By applying these principles at every stage, individuals can navigate life with greater resilience, fulfillment, and ethical integrity. Peck also explores the concept of grace in depth, describing it as an inexplicable force that aids individuals on the path of growth. Grace often manifests when individuals take responsibility, face challenges, or act courageously. He shares stories of patients and clients who, despite overwhelming obstacles, experience transformative events, chance encounters, moments of clarity, or unexpected support that propel them forward. Peck emphasizes that grace is not a guarantee but a recognition that active engagement with life often invites unforeseen aid. This perspective reinforces the book's central message. Growth is a dynamic interplay between effort, responsibility, and openness to forces beyond one's control. Throughout The Road Less Traveled, Peck also stresses the importance of integrating mind, body, and spirit. He notes that neglecting any aspect of self can hinder growth and well-being. For instance, unresolved psychological issues may manifest physically as stress-related illness, while spiritual neglect can result in existential emptiness. He recounts the story of a man who suffers chronic migraines and insomnia, only to discover through therapy that these symptoms are tied to unresolved emotional trauma. By addressing the root psychological issues and cultivating spiritual practices, the man experiences both physical relief and a deeper sense of purpose. Peck's holistic approach underscores that true health is multidimensional, requiring attention to mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. The book concludes by reiterating the central thesis: life is difficult, but facing its challenges with discipline, responsibility, love, insight, and spiritual engagement leads to growth and fulfillment. Peck does not offer quick fixes or simplistic advice. Rather, he provides a framework for understanding life's complexities and navigating them consciously. He reminds readers that the path of growth is often lonely, demanding, and counterintuitive, but it is ultimately the road that leads to authentic happiness and meaningful connection. The journey, he suggests, is not about avoiding pain or achieving perfection but about embracing reality, cultivating courage, and participating fully in life. In practical terms, readers can apply Peck's insights in numerous ways. Daily self-reflection, journaling, and mindfulness practices help cultivate awareness and insight. Actively confronting problems rather than avoiding them builds resilience. Therapy or counseling provides a structured environment for self-exploration and growth. In relationships, practicing honesty, empathy, and deliberate love fosters connection and mutual development. Embracing uncertainty, exploring creative outlets, and seeking spiritual engagement enrich life and nurture personal evolution. By integrating these practices, individuals move along the road less traveled, an arduous but profoundly rewarding journey toward maturity, fulfillment, and genuine happiness. Peck's stories throughout the book provide tangible illustrations of these principles. From the man struggling with addiction to couples learning to communicate, from executives confronting destructive behavior to ordinary people facing grief and loss, the examples demonstrate that growth is accessible to anyone willing to embrace discipline and self-awareness. Each narrative underscores that transformation is gradual, effortful, and often uncomfortable, yet entirely within the reach of those who commit to it. These examples reinforce the book's enduring appeal. It is a guide not only to understanding life's challenges but to actively engaging with them in ways that cultivate strength, compassion, and wisdom. Ultimately, The Road Less Traveled offers a roadmap for those seeking a life of meaning. Its lessons are universal. Life is difficult, growth requires discipline, love is a choice, and spiritual engagement enriches existence. By embracing these truths, individuals can navigate life's inevitable challenges with courage and insight, transforming hardship into opportunity and pain into wisdom. The book's enduring relevance lies in its honesty, depth, and practicality, providing guidance for anyone willing to walk the demanding but rewarding path of self-discovery and personal evolution. And that's it, The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. Thanks for listening to Book Nibbles. If you enjoyed this bite-sized book, don't forget to subscribe for more quick, insightful summaries. See you in the next nibble.